Hey, it's Anita Ross here, author, speaker, and self-love coach, bringing you a powerful workshop today entitled Living the Dream-Driven Life. Living the dream-driven life as opposed to the circumstance-driven life. And today we're going to talk all about the distinction and how do we move from living from a circumstance-driven life to a dream-driven life. First, let me define both and just give you a little bit of information about both of those contexts. And I'll start with the circumstance-driven life because that is the most prominent. It is the most common and even at times an easier way to move through life for most people. Humanity, right? Most people are living a circumstance-driven life, one that is based on the facts or conditions around them. Okay? And in my humble opinion, I feel like is what creates a lot of the ills of the world when we operate from that place, from the facts and the conditions, versus living the dream-driven life, which is based on those inner desires, those deep dreams of our hearts that are good, that are purposeful, that are fulfilling. And so, and we're talking authentic dreams, right? Those that stem from the goodness of humanity. And so when we operate from that place, we make the world a better place, right? Happy people create happy people, right? Happy people tend to find their purpose, which is really just bringing joy and love into the world, extending love into the world, right? I think I've talked about this before, is that oftentimes we make our purpose a little bit too out there somewhere, and really it can get tough when we think of it like that. I don't know, I'm trying to find my purpose. Well, it's to give love into the world. And folks who are living from a dream-driven context tend to be able to give love once they're living their dreams, and oftentimes while they are in pursuit of their dreams, because they are living from an authentic place. And when we live from authenticity, it is in our nature to give love, to put love out into the world, also to receive it, right? But that is 99.999% of the time built into those dreams that we are creating and or in pursuit of. Are you still with me? Just to sum that up, when we live the circumstance-driven life based on the facts and the conditions, we limit our choices, we limit our planning, we limit our behaviors aligned with that which we can see and that which is occurring in our life already. And so it often leads to more of what we have, but maybe slightly different. But when we move ourselves into the dream-driven context, then we are dreaming up that which we want to be, do, and have, and we are in pursuit of it because we're driven by it. And as such, goodness comes, not just from achieving the dreams, but also in the journey. We often find out more about who we are. We often find out more about what our purpose is. We often find out more about how much love we can give out into the world, how much goodness we can create here. It's just a natural unfoldment of the dream-driven life. And let me just kind of break it all down. One of the topics that I often talk about throughout my books and retreats and all of that is this concept of drifting, okay? Drifting is what most people do. We kind of drift through life. We make decisions based on what we know and what we can see and what data we have and what facts we have. And so they aren't always authentic choices, authentic actions. Sometimes they are based on being in a box, in the box of our conditions and facts. Does that make sense? So let me give some tangible examples. How much money we have in the bank would be one side of that box. How much time we have in a day, that would be another box. How much education we have, but I don't have the education to do X, Y, Z that I want to do. Or where we live, our location, or the things that we have, the clothing that we have, the clothing that we don't have. Those are the facts and the conditions that often hem us into a box, a small little box where we can make our decisions in. And oftentimes when we live from that place, then we are what we call drifting. Drifting is just veering off from our authentic path. Our authentic path is living the life of our dreams. I've told you this before in many different ways, is that we're born worthy of the life of our dreams. Any baby that you've been around is born worthy of the life of their dreams. And at the start, we seem like, the sky's the limit for them. But then as they grow and as we see them grow, then we start placing the limitations that create that box. Right? We start creating that as we grow up. Right? And so when we veer off, we're no longer living from that authentic place that is understanding and aware that we are worthy of the life of our dreams, and that's the direction we should be going in. I don't like the word should, so that we get to be going in, right? We often don't see it because of the different facts, circumstances, conditions that occur within the context of our lives. All right? And so most people are drifting. Why? Because it takes a conscious awareness, a conscious choice to take a look at what's really happening here in my life. And some of us do. Don't get me wrong. We take on the different areas of our life. Well, in the area of education, no, I want to get my next degree. And we do it, right? Or, this job isn't quite what I want, so I'm going to go get another job. But when we're talking the life of our dreams, we're talking every single area of our lives. And we're talking about the biggest, most amazing, most extraordinary dream in those areas of our lives that we can dream up. That our hearts can palpitate into, that our hearts can feed into. Yes, I can go along with that. That's where I want to go. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. But sometimes we don't see it for ourselves. We don't see it for ourselves because we might not feel worthy of it, because somebody has drilled in our head that, no, you can't do that. Oftentimes we are ignoring the heart space to and parlaying the responsibility to our minds. But our minds have limitation because our minds are based on what we know. They're based on data. They're based on facts. They're based on the things that we can quantify and even qualify, right? I want to take a moment to really land what that means. And recently in the Olympics, Simone Biles, who was slated to knock every single gymnastic event out of the park, win gold medals. There was a lot of pressure. She is the GOAT of all time in gymnastics, and all is very true. But I watched her from the Olympic trials, even the trials. I watched her struggle with her events. Just not her standard of what she does on each event. I was like, what's going on with her? And then I watched the qualifying events in the Olympics. Again, her difficulty level is so high that, of course, she's even with some mishaps in her Olympic trial journey, she's still going to make it to the Olympics, right? Because the level of difficulty is insane. So in the qualifying events of the Olympics, I watched her struggle again. Even watched her tear up. I was like, Simone Biles tearing up? Yes, I know she's human. We all know that, right? But this part of her that she demonstrates to the world in regards to her career and her abilities in gymnastics, it was just shocking. And then to find out later in the once in the Olympics and competing, that she withdraws from multiple events that in the past she would have no problem winning a gold in, right? And it occurred to me, and she was talking a little bit about what was going on for her. She's just not finding where she is in the air, and she could risk her physical health and also her mental health. And what occurred to me is that the mind cannot push through that which the heart is meant to do. The mind cannot push through that which the heart is meant to do. And it's so true. If our heart is not in it, if perhaps the pressure was too much, or whatever the reason, if our heart's not in it, our mind won't be able to push through. It requires that. Now, we can drift operating from the mind. We can drift through things. Usually, like I said earlier, we're suffering. We're feeling some sort of pain or suffering when we're drifting, right? It's kind of like that job that it's okay, but the person that sits next to me is annoying, or my boss is always belittling me, but I can take it. I'm a tough cookie. So there's some level of pain or suffering, and it varies for every person. Some people will not put up with those circumstances at work for 1 second, and some people can take it for however long because, well, I'm getting a good paycheck. I only have to come in 2 days a week, and the other days I can work from home. And so there are some parts of it that work really well. And so our mind can say yes, but deep down inside, our heart wants something more. Our heart wants the job that's everything. But we're so used to putting that aside because of the facts and conditions, the circumstances. Well, listen, in the pandemic, perhaps it was hard to find a job, or, to find a job that, perhaps you want to be in an office. And at the time that was not possible. And so there's all these different things that dictate to us of what we can't do and what's not possible. But see, the heart doesn't see it that way. The heart sees it as everything's possible. You're worth it. Let's go. And it's so true. I remember just recently working with a client who was a couple years away from retirement. And she used to love what she does. And there are still some aspects of what she does that she loves to do. But for the most part, and again, she's like 2 years away from retirement. For the most part, she's had it. She's had enough. She doesn't feel joy-filled every day with the job, mostly because of the administrative piece. But the parts that she loves is working with people and helping people. But the administrative piece, she's had it, right? So there's the facts that this administrative piece is something that she is part of her job description and gets to do. And there's aspects of parts of the job that she gets to do that she loves. And she's 2 years away from retirement, and she's going to get like lifetime medical coverage and a great retirement stipend each month. But she has this other opportunity that she really loves to do, and she wants to dive into that full time. And so a person who would think logically, again, from the mind, would say, well, just push this out. Get the 2 years done. Get your lifetime medical benefits and your nice retirement financial package. And then go dive into what you truly love. And she calls me and says, can we have a session? I really want to work this out. And as we process through it, her heart is no longer with the job. Her heart is with this new opportunity. And once we got clear on that, and then we apply the dream-driven context, then it's about creating, how do I do this? How do I now move in that direction? But again, if we think from the mind and even ego, right? Ego is an aspect of the mind. We want to keep things clean, keep things looking good. Well, this looks good. My projection for retirement, accomplishing, finishing the job, if you will, that's the direction she would have gone. That's the circumstance-driven direction. And again, not always shabby, not always such a bad option. Please don't hear that. But we're talking about a huge paradigm shift from circumstance-driven to dream-driven. And when we operate from the dream-driven, as I've mentioned earlier, we're just happier people. We're more joy-filled. We're safer. We're more loving. We're, you name it, all the good. We're more peaced out. We're more peaceful. We're more fun. We're more funny. We're laughing. We're having a good time. Okay? And that's, in my humble opinion, what the world needs more of. Right? So, I say all this to say that the other aspect of kind of breaking the drift is breaking out of the pain and suffering. Okay? So perhaps it's not, again, noticeable, or it's very tolerable, the pain and suffering. And in those situations, it's not as obvious when it's time to shift, right, from circumstance-driven to dream-driven. But then there are other times where it is more obvious, when our safety is at risk, our health is at risk, because when you talk about pain and suffering, you talk about physical pain and suffering, you can talk about mental health, right? So the other aspect of what Simone Biles shared was that it was time for her to tend to her mental health, even though this was the most inconvenient time to take that stand. She realized that that was the most important thing, her own mental health. And I just said, kudos to Simone Biles. So proud of her, and so proud of the message that sent to so many people who follow her and believe in her. Just, if another person really gets it about tending to their mental health, then I'm all for it, and just a beautiful, beautiful consequence of her decision. And so, to give an example of that, again, I was talking with a client recently who for about 15, 16 years, has been emotionally and sometimes physically abused by the father of her child. And she's no longer with the father of her child, but the harassment via texting, via videos, via phone calls, even when she blocks him, is just ongoing. It's like an onslaught of basically terrorizing her in different ways, emotionally, and as I said, sometimes physically. And so when we were talking, I was saying, I was kind of gauging the situation and understanding how long the impact has been on her. And I realized something, that she was absolutely used to this. This was her way of life for 15, 16 plus years. And when it started, she was a very young person. So for a good portion of her life, at least half of her life, she's been dealing with this. And they have a child together, and so she has felt like, well, this is the way it is in order for the child to have a relationship with the father and all of this stuff. So, of course, I put on my dream-driven cap, right, which is always the cap that I have, actually, and I say, have you thought of what it would be like to no longer have the experience of this abuse in your life? And we talked about, do you understand that you're worthy of not having this abuse in your life? And she literally is like, I hadn't even thought of that, because this is the way it has been for so long. Again, making decisions and moving through life based on the facts or conditions of what's going on versus what it is I truly want in my heart. And the reason she has been reaching out more and more recently is because her heart is saying, I want out of this abuse. This doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel free. This feels like pain and suffering, and I want out. And so sometimes breaking the drift means getting out of pain and suffering. Sometimes moving from circumstance-driven to the dream-driven means I will get out of pain and suffering. In fact, most of the time. But again, sometimes it's tolerable and sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's just dangerous. I've talked about this before. I talk about it in my my book, So I've Got Self-Love Now What, which is the tap, knock, crash. The tap is when it comes in a mild message and you listen and it goes away, whatever that thing is, whatever that pain and suffering is, whatever that call for change is. The knock is the more obnoxious, the more jarring, the more stubborn, the more rude and mean and hurtful way of getting a message that it's time for a change. And then the crash is when you're taken out and the only way out is to change, right? And in a case like this, where abuse is at play, abuse tends to escalate. And it had gotten to an escalated state, and this is why, again, another reason why she was reaching out, because it was getting real serious. And so we don't want to get to the crash. And when we're operating in the dream-driven context, we don't get there, because our decisions are based on what we're worthy of. They're stemmed and rooted from the heart. And so even though we're going to have tough days where it's hard to do the thing, to take the authentic action, to move in the direction of our dreams, even though there are going to be those days, we're going to have this understanding that, but this is what's driving me, and so I'm going to make my choices based on that. Okay, I'll take a day off from the hard work and loaf off, or I'll go on vacation and hang with my family, and and those and that could be part of your dream. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to be in tune with those hard days, and you're going to do the work to move through them and then get back on course. that of course will happen. Yep. So in other words, you won't be living the emotionless and feelingless driven life, right? So the dream driven life does involve emotions and feelings and sometimes tough times and all of that, but we know that it is all worth it, right? Because it is what we've dreamed up. It is what we truly, truly desire. Okay? So let me kind of give you 5 tips for how to practice this and how to move in the direction from circumstance driven into the dream driven life. Okay? The first step is be honest with yourself. Okay? Be honest with yourself and ask yourself the question, am I living a circumstance driven life or am I living a dream driven life? That's literally the first step. And then you take a look at each area of your life. So important, because you could say, well, in my career, I'm all in. I'm living that dream-driven life. I am driven by my dreams and my goals and all the things, and I'm hitting them. Great. But is your health in your dream-driven state? One of the dichotomies I see all the time is like, well, I'm doing great in my career, but my health is deteriorating. Why? Because you're working so much. You're not taking time to eat healthy. You're running by fast food, or you're not going to the gym or working out or getting some level of exercise wherever you may get it. So we look at all areas of our life. Make sure there's balance and that all areas we're moving in the direction of our dreams. Right? Spirituality in our family. Another dichotomy I always see is like, what, my career is great, but I never see my family. And is that the dream in your heart, to never see your family? Right? Sometimes maybe it might be. I don't know. But in this question and in this step where you want to be honest with yourself, one of the things that I love about this book, Meantime Love, A Woman's Journey from Self-Love to Self-Love, are these worksheets. The worksheets here where we kind of go through every area of your life and ask some very, very detailed questions. And so when you're being honest with yourself, you want to take these worksheets and answer those questions for your current state of affairs in your life. Yes, those of you who have read this book and have yet to do the worksheets, because that's usually the thing. I love the book. Did you do the worksheets? Not yet. Because it's hard, right? I'm asking you to go through this with a fine-tooth comb in every area of your life and basically take a look at where you are in pursuit of your dreams. So that, under that first step of being honest with yourself, I encourage you to do these worksheets. After you ask yourself that question, am I living a circumstance-driven life or a dream-driven life? And move into this exercise. All right. Step 2 is dream out loud. Dream as big as you can dream. And then dream bigger. Don't censor yourself. Don't allow the voices in your head from previous parents, people, whomever, partners that have said you couldn't and that's not possible. Just dream out loud. As big as you possibly can. And so then you'd go revisit, right? Again, that exercise in the book, those worksheets, and answer the questions in your dream context. Where do I want to have my career? I want to have my career in Hawaii. Even though your current state of affairs might have you in Sacramento. So have that distinction, where I'm at right now and where I want to be. And when you look at where you want to be, just dream absolutely the loudest you possibly can. Okay? Step 3 is to declare it. Declare it so. I will have these dreams. Yes, it will happen. I am going to be in Hawaii. In fact, you could even biggie size it. I am in Hawaii. Because it's an affirmation. Make it so. When we declare, what we're doing is stating it to be so without evidence of how. Oftentimes, we're data collectors. We want to know that we can do it. We want to know that we can succeed. But just declaring it puts it out in the universe and says it will be so, even though I don't know how yet. Takes a little bit of that thing we call faith, yes, of course. But it's a powerful, powerful step in living the dream-driven life. Declare it so. Ditch the evidence, or ditch the need for evidence, because we're such humans. Number 4 is now take steps in that direction, the direction of your dreams. Take the steps. If you're a planner, make a plan, create a plan, right? 90-day plan, whatever you name it. But take the steps. Take action. Move in the direction. When you don't know how, seek support. Find a subject matter expert. Find somebody who can support you. Find an accountability partner. Find all the tools, the toolkits, right? But take the steps. Create the plan and take the steps. And then step 5 is check in with yourself on a regular basis. I don't want to tell you the frequency, but whether it be twice a year, quarterly, annually, check in with yourself based on the size of these dreams and the level of detail. Check in with yourself on a regular basis. Am I moving in this direction? And another thing is, because we can go the course and then maybe start drifting, is when you check in, go back to step 1, be honest with yourself, and ask yourself that question. Am I living a circumstance-driven life, aka am I drifting, or am I living a dream-driven life? And when you check in with yourself on a regular basis, you will know that there is forward movement. You will keep yourself accountable in moving from a dream-driven place. Oprah says, every now and then, because my husband's her number 1 fan, I get a good quote from her, but she says that the biggest adventure you can ever take is to live the life of your dreams. And oh, is she so, so correct. It's an adventure, it's a fun one, and you're absolutely worth it. So go for it, do your thing. That's what I have for you today. I love you.